Well, it looks like I got a little bit of schmutz on my shirt there, I guess, but that's what happens when you have an infant, so we're just gonna roll with it. Headphone highlights. Hello, Master Marslander, and this is the Meze Audio Empyrean 2. Much like with the Lyric 2, the Empyrean 2 is the new replacement for the Empyrean. It has a new kind of colorway, some new design choices, and some additional tweaks in the tuning. I'm going to come out front and say it right here and right now at the beginning of this video that this is easily one of the most premium feeling, premium built headphones and premium looking headphones that I've ever seen and I've ever had here in this studio. This is ridiculous. This is a ridiculous amount of precision and just an insanely premium headphone. So you better believe we're going to be spending a lot of time here today to really dig deep into the Empyrean 2. A quick shout out to Meze Audio once again for sending us the Empyrean 2 for this video. We very much appreciate you. Thank you, thank you. And also, again, I want to give them an extra bit of thanks up front here for their incredible patience because I have had this headphone here in the studio for a while as well. So thank you very much for all of your patience, fellas. As always, all thoughts and opinions about the Empyrean 2 here are going to be my own. Now let's get into it. Once again, Meze nails it when it comes to industrial design. This is such a beautiful freaking headphone. I don't know how they do it. They outdo themselves every freaking time with their design. It's so beautiful. It's so well machined and well built and well made, and it looks like this just cool organic sci-fi freaking badass headphone, man. It's just built so flippin' well. With the Empyrean 2, it is an open back planar headphone, and this whole body here is CNC machined aluminum. It is employing a new grill here. This is a new grill design and pattern than what was on the original version of the Empyrean. So the Empyrean 2 has this pattern going for it instead, which I think looks very nice. And this is really hard to see, but I'm going to have to zoom in to show this. This is the kind of level of detail that you get when you're working with Meze headphones. I'm going to do my best to show this off, but this chassis here, the yoke system and the frame, if you look really, really closely, you'll see there's this kind of ridged, almost fingerprint-like texture that goes from the edge all the way up to the badge here. And then the badge, too, if you look, has those same ridges. It's just remarkable. Like, it's so subtle that most people probably would never even notice it. But the fact that they match this ridge-like texture and design, even going up into this little Meze logo badge here, it screams quality and premium. It's so premium. And little things like that you're going to see just kind of all over the headphone as we explore it. But let's go ahead and take a look at the side here. We have this very subtle little 2 marked right here on the headband, and that right there is the only real indication that this is the Empyrean 2, unless you have an Empyrean 1 to compare right next to it, and then you can see a bit of a clearer difference with the colorway and everything else. The height adjustment system is very similar to what we saw in the Lyric 2. It's just kind of a very smooth and linear tension fit. And yeah, it works almost exactly the same, and it feels fantastic. It is using a much more kind of subtle and mature color scheme than that crazy poppy copper that we had with the Lyric 2. But it's just a lot more of a subtle colorway and color design to make it appear what I would say to be a more mature looking headphone. The headband is carbon fiber, as you can see right there, and it does split into these 2 wings that go along the top of the headband here. And then between it, we have a comfort strap, which has, well, it says right there, Empyrean on the top. Doesn't say Empyrean 2, it just says Empyrean, but still. And then the leather is this kind of rough grain on the top with some stitching. And then the underside is a very, very soft kind of suede. So 2 different sides of your leather there. And it's a really, again, just high quality comfort strap. For our connectors, we have this time around dual entry 4-pin mini XLR connectors. And they do have a locking system. We'll see when we take a look at the cable how that works. And then the drivers themselves, I'm going to take the pad off so we can take a look. We don't get as clear of a look as we did with the Lyric 2, but if I get it in just the right light, you can kind of see those drivers in there. And it might have kind of a similar pattern to what we saw with the Lyric 2, but I assure you that the driver in the Empyrean 2 is quite a bit different than the Lyric. The drivers are 102 millimeters by 73 millimeters ovoid planar drivers. It's a hybrid magnet array creating an isodynamic magnetic field with an ultralight Renario isoplanar diaphragm and a fiberglass infused ABS frame. And it is capable of producing audio reproduction up to 110,000 hertz. You would never hear that, but what a bragging thing to say. Pretty flippin' cool. We'll talk about these pads later when we're talking about accessories because you actually get 2 sets of pads, so we'll discuss those in a little bit. The Empyrean 2 has 32 ohms of impedance and 90 decibels of sensitivity, and all of this, these giant planars, these big honkin' pads, all this carbon fiber, all this aluminum, all this insanely high quality build and construction comes in at about 450 grams. Your Empyrean 2 comes with a pretty solid package of accessories as well, and as I mentioned, first and foremost is a second pair of pads. Now these are different pads than what are stock. What we have on stock right now are the Duo pads. I'll take these off. They are just magnetic. Again, just like the Lyric, I'll put that down here. The Duo pads, they are called as such because they have both leather and Alcantara in their construction. So leather on the outer rim here, and also perforated leather there on the inside. The face and kind of the sides as well is a very, very soft Alcantara. And then we have this metal grill right here that separates the pad and the driver. The Duo pads are meant to employ more bass emphasis and kind of a more focused sound, like not as much space and soundstage. The second pair of pads are the angled Alcantara pads. They are 100% Alcantara. We have the same material being used all around the edge, all on the face, and on the inside, though the inside is perforated, if you can see that. You will notice, though, while we do have the same grill pattern, the same metal grill used in the back of the pad, it's not nearly as see-through because there is a very, very fine mesh cloth right here for additional dampening. And also, it's an angled pad. So one side is a bit thicker in the back than in the front. So yeah, these are not just additional pads, but different pads to give you different tuning for this headphone. The Alcantara pads offer a more spacious, airy, and even cleaner sound. The Empyrean 2s come with a mini XLR 1/4-inch copper PC UHD premium cable, very similar to the one that we saw with the Lyric 2, but with those mini XLR connectors. But optionally, you could upgrade it to this. This is a mini XLR silver-plated PC UHD premium cable. That comes available in 3.5mm, 4.4mm, or in this case, 4-pin balanced XLR for your amplifier termination. And this is a lovely, lovely cable. It is, I believe, the same weave that we saw with the cable that came with the Lyric 2, but everything is just silver plated and lovely. I'll zoom in to get a closer look at all this. So at your connecting ends, we have, again, these mini XLR connectors. And as I mentioned, they have a locking system to them. We have these little buttons here, and you would use those to pull them off the headband, the headphone. So to connect them, it would be like so, where they would go in. They only fit one way, so you gotta find the right orientation. They go in and they click, click, and then it's in there. It's not gonna come out. You have to push that button and then pull. Sometimes it's a little finicky, there you go, to get it out. Super high quality connectors. They are really, really robust, and they are metal machined, and they're just beautiful. And once again, color coded, red for right and blue for left. And they are labeled very, very subtly Meze Audio right there. They have that same 4-weave that comes down to what I believe is probably the same split that we saw with the Lyric cable. And then that same just lovely, drapey, very, very nice woven cable here. You'll notice that this one does have a little bit more kind of kink to it than the Lyric 2 cable did. I think that might have something to do with the way that the silver plating is affecting the cable. It's not quite as drapey, not quite as like soft to the touch as the stock cable is, the stock copper cable. But man, is it still an extremely high quality cable. And I'm sure if you really, wanted to, you can stretch this thing out, maybe throw it over a door or something, and it'll straighten out really, really nice. And then over here at the amplifier end, we have, of course, the 4-pin XLR, Meze Audio right there, and it is still a metal connector and just extremely well made. Everything is just extremely well made. And to be clear, the core of this cable is the same Furukawa copper wire. It just happens to be coated in pure silver. Now, as you might expect from these premium Meze headphones, the Empyrean 2 also comes with a booklet, but it's teeny. It's a teeny tiny little booklet. It's not nearly as impressive of a booklet as we had with the 109 Pro or the Lyric 2. It's just kind of this little thing. It accomplishes the same thing. It's just some kind of like promotional imagery in here and some breakdown of how the driver's put together. It's still really, really nice. It's just not a full-size booklet, which I think would have been even nicer, more bragging rights, whatever. But it serves the same purpose in a smaller little itty-bitty package. And again, we do get a PU leather pouch for our cable as well. But one thing that is extra included with the Empyrean is this little card that comes with your package that has your serial number and assembly date and inspection, all that kind of information. So that's neat. Just need to see that. I like to see it. Feels nice. And then the last thing you get with your Empyrean 2, you don't get the same kind of nice fancy box that we got with the Lyric 2 or even with the 109 Pro, but instead you get this. Oh man, this thing's freaking rad. It is a ABS suitcase. No clamshell hard case for your Empyreans, no. You get a full-on freaking suitcase. Look at this thing. I'm having a hard time just like fitting it on my table here. Yeah, everything about this is quality. Once again, just we have this little hand grippy right here. It's a nice, hard, well-made freaking suitcase. It has our little Meze badge right there. And these very elegant, simple, very, I don't know, again, like Batman boss theme. Boom, boom, little latches. And then inside here, I'll orient it this way so you can see. What is with my focus today? I don't know what's going on. And then the inside, whoop, boom, there you go. I went ahead and put the booklet in there so you can see how that gets displayed. Move it this way now. So yeah, booklet's right there. And again, it is perfectly cut out in this foam for the Empyrean. And then right here are perfect little inserts for these additional pads. So whatever pads you're not using, you can just put right in there like that and store away your additional pads. And then, oops. And then, yeah, boom. And lock. Done. This is badass. This is a badass freaking case. It doesn't have the same sort of, I guess, luxury of the really cool box that came with like the Lyric 2, but it has more, I guess you could say it has more utility. It's not nearly as like take with you portable as the clamshell case is. It's a hell of a lot more robust though. Man, very, very cool. Incredible, amazing build quality from Meze, no big surprise there, but how does this big honking headphone feel on the head? And I'm going to break this down into two different sections. Right now we're using the Duo pads. I'm going to have a separate section for the angled Alcantara pads because there is a different fit and comfort level. So with the Duo pads here, we'll talk about the general stuff first. The general stuff being how it just kind of fits right now. Look at this thing. It's a huge freaking headphone on my head. It's a statement piece. This is substantial. But as big as it is and how like monstrous it is on my head, man, the Meze nails weight distribution. It is insane to me how a headphone of this size, of these kinds of materials, and of this weight can sit here so comfortably. This is remarkably comfortable. Once again, just like with the Lyric, the comfort strap here is doing a lot of the major work. It's it's form-fitting to the top of my head almost perfectly. I don't feel like I'm getting any hot spots at all. And I don't even really feel like there's anything on the top of my head. I don't feel like the headphone's pushing down on me. And I also don't feel like the headphone's clamping on me. It was not that same sort of pressure that we had with the Lyric, which still, even then, wasn't too bad. It's a lot less here with the Empyrean too. This is just a really cozy place to be. I mean, it feels fantastic. It feels phenomenal. The pads, even the duo pads here, I'll get more into it, but I have very little clamp pressure. Where there's any sort of sensation of a headphone being on my head, I can't pinpoint an exact spot. The distribution of this thing is so well designed and so well executed that I don't feel like there's any one spot anywhere on my head that's getting more pressure than anywhere else. It just sort of feels like there's something there, almost like you're wearing like snow earmuffs or something. That's really it. That's all it really feels like. Now, of course, if I do something like whip my head around, sure, I'll feel the headphone then, but hopefully you're not gonna be whipping your head around with a headphone like this. Talk about the cable here really quick. The cable is, of course, lovely, and the premium silver cable here in particular, it actually does get a bit heavy just because it's a bit long and there's a lot of material, a lot of silver plating and copper Fudikawa cable madness going on here. So there's some weight to this, but even with this cable, I'll drop it down to the floor now, it doesn't really add weight to the headphone. I can feel the weight of the cable in my hand, but when the headphone is just on my head like this, it's just kind of a non-issue. And in terms of microphonics, there's none. Absolutely zero. Completely silent. So the cable is, of course, fantastic, phenomenal, just awesome. Okay, so now let's talk a little bit more about the fit. And again, we're talking about the duo pads right now. But it's a lot of this is still going to transfer to the Alcantara, but I'll tell you where it's different once we switch to the Alcantara. But the shape of this headphone is very much kind of an ear-shaped headphone. Like it's ovaloid or whatever. And sometimes with an ovaloid headphone like this, especially a larger headphone like this, that kind of point that it comes down to can sit and rest on my jawline in an uncomfortable, sometimes fatiguing way. Not so here with the Empyrean. It is coming down. My jawline is right here, but it's sitting right behind it. It's right behind my jaw. It comes down right here. There's my jaw. There's the headphone sitting, the pad's right behind it, so it doesn't really touch it at all. If I were to move the headphone a little bit forward, it touches it a little bit right on the very back of my jaw, but that's not where I want the headphone to be. I want it right here, and when it's right here, fit where I want it to be. It doesn't touch my jawline at all. It's fantastic. And these pads, man, Meze, they do such a great job with their pads, man. This is an open back headphone, so I don't have the same sort of ceiling that I had with the Lyric, but the way that the pads form fit to you, you can tell there's a really rock solid seal, even if there is an open back of the headphone. So it's forming and kind of molding and melting into my head here, where my glasses are a non-issue. I don't feel like I'm getting any pressure right here where my glasses are. If I pull these out, you know, maybe it's a little bit of a better seal, but again, because it's an open back headphone, that's really not going to matter. So glasses don't matter nearly as much. The pads are just so soft and so plush. It's like, God, man, it's like just having this pillow on your head. It's amazing. It's genuinely amazing. With the duo pads here, I almost hesitate to say this, but if I were to really get nitpicky here, the duo pads do have a little bit of a tendency to get a little bit warm over longer sessions. But when I say a little bit warm, I really do mean just a little bit. I wouldn't be worried about like your ears sweating all over the place. Especially because it's an open back headphone, it all kind of breathes pretty naturally, pretty nicely. So I don't really feel like I get a whole lot of heat, but I do feel like I do get just a little bit warm after long sessions. So you just have to be aware of that. Now the size of the pad, it's a big honking pad. It's a deep, freaking deep pad. My ear is nowhere near this grill, nowhere near that driver. And the size of this, it doesn't look like it's really that much bigger than the Lyric, but it has to be, because when I put my ear in the duo pads here, if I get it just right, no portion of my ear is touching the pad. Like maybe the very like tip end hairs of my ear on the top of my ear are barely touching like the back of the pad here. The ear volume in these is fantastic. These are just kind of floating over my ear. They're wonderful. They're absolutely stupendous. Man, it's almost worthy I'm giving a little bit of a spoiler here. It's almost worthy of a Cloud 9. It is almost there, but we're going to give it 8.5 clouds of comfort. We're just barely there, and only because even though the weight distribution is phenomenal, it's still a heavyish headphone, and you can still feel that weight again, especially if you start rotating your head. And again, a little bit of that extra warmth in the pads as well. So 8.5 clouds of comfort with the Duo pads. Now let's switch over to the Alcantara pads, which is easy to do because they're just magnets. The Alcantara pads, I will add, once again, they are angled, so you do have to make sure that you are putting them on the correct driver. Okay, the Empyrean 2 with the Alcantara pads. Oh, man. I'm kind of speechless. I kind of don't really know what to say. The Duo pads are already so good, but the Alcantara pads, I don't know if it's because of the material, because again, there's the same Alcantara, I'm pretty sure, being used on the face of the Duo pads. Maybe it's because they're angled, I don't know. But these are somehow even better. These are somehow even better. This feels so freaking good. The Alcantara pads legitimately feel cooler to the skin than the Duo pads. I don't know what kind of wizardry is happening there, but just making that switch and putting this headphone back on my head, it like actively cooled my ears. I don't know how that's happening, but it is phenomenal. They're so soft and they're so plush, and they still form and melt to your head just like the Duo pads do. But the Duo pads, I feel like are they a little bit firmer maybe? Let's see. Not really by much. I don't know, man. It must just be the material. It's just the material and the angle. It makes all the difference. Once the whole pad is Alcantara, it's just so lovely. It feels so good on the head. I'm going to try and show this off too, because this is, I think, contributing to the kind of extra bit of comfort we're getting with the Alcantara pads. But if you look side by side here, I really should have done this on the top view, but I'm too lazy to do that right now. If you look side by side, here's the Alcantara, here is the Duo pad. You notice that the Alcantara pad is just slightly larger for the ear. Like the space in here, the ear volume is just slightly more. So when you have the pads on, again, my ear is really not touching any part of the Duo pad, but it's absolutely not touching anything with the Alcantara. You do have just a little bit more extra ear volume in here, which I guess is one, contributing to the additional comfort, which you are getting, and also probably maybe even contributing a little bit more to the cooling factor of this pad versus the Duo. So there you go. There's another little physical difference there. I have no other choice. It does feel better. The Alcantara pads, the angled pads, do feel better than the Duo pads. They fit just a little bit better. At least for my head, they fit just a little bit better. And for that reason, I have to give the Empyrean 2 with the Alcantara a 9 clouds of comfort. Good job, Meze. This is phenomenal. This is ridiculous. I can't believe a headphone that looks like this on my big freaking head is this comfortable. This is outrageous. They absolutely nailed it with fit and comfort. You cannot, there's nothing else I can say. It's damn near perfect. Awesome. New duds as we talk about the sound performance for the Empyrean 2. And to be clear, the sound profile I'm going to be describing to you moving forward is with the Duo pads. And I chose the Duo pads because I feel like for the majority of people, they're going to prefer the sound of the Duo pads over the Alcantara. Alcantara pads make for a very natural, neutral, evenly balanced sort of sound, while the Duo pads keep things more fun and engaging. It's a deeper V curve, and it just gives you a lot of extra bass emphasis, which I think most people are going to prefer with this headphone. So that's why we're talking about the Duo, but you can just, I don't know, self-analyze yourself that if we were using the Alcantara pads, things would shift a little bit. It's not a humongous difference, to be clear, but yes, these are the more V-shaped, dynamic, bombastic, bassy tuning of the headphone with the Duo pads. Sub bass is really well extended. It's not as extended as it was with the Lyric 2. Lyric 2 hits just a little bit deeper, but it still hits plenty deep, plenty hard, and it's a bit more present than it was with the Lyric 2. Lyric 2, I think, was, even though it could hit a little deeper, was a bit more subtle in its delivery of sub bass, whereas the Empyrean 2 here, It lets it rumble, but without having a really noticeable, obnoxious amount of decay. It's actually just really, really pleasant. The mid bass has some really pleasant grit and crunch to it, but it maintains a really responsible level of control and maturity. It's not an overly bombastic, overly explosive amount of mid bass where it's bleeding and blooming all over your mid range. It's just really high quality, but also really wicked fun. The mid-range is wonderful. It's absolutely delightful. It has this realistic, natural tuning to it, this very pleasant kind of timbre happening in there. And it shares a lot of kind of similarities with the Lyric 2, with that kind of crazy spatial imaging of that mid-range. It's wonderful. It's so layered. Everything is so well isolated and so well refined and defined. And this really helps keep the mid-range feeling clean and refined and clear. Nothing feels muddy or congested. Vocals are lovely. They have so much more full bodiness. The thing I said I was missing from the Lyric 2 with those vocals, I felt like it was just missing a little something. It's here with the Empyrean 2 for sure. The vocals are, they're front and center, and they got weight to them. They have a wonderful amount of presence, and it's just this real natural, slightly just like a drizzle of honey warmth over the top of them to make them just so pleasant, so lovely. This coffee shop like coziness to the vocals, if that makes any sense. That just, it's really, really lovely. Listening to Got Me Wrong from the live unplugged performance of Alice in Chains, you get this really just intimate and textured feeling from Lane Staley and Jerry Cantrell's pained and gritty vocals. It is just stellar. As we climb up into the high mids, speed, man, just crazy speed. The Planar drivers in here just deliver like you would expect a Planar to do so, but it is just so quick. The attacks are so snappy and they hit hard and visceral. There's just so much speed, so much intensity in the higher frequencies, and it really, really attacks you. It bites at you. It's a joy. And then going into the treble range, I mentioned that with the Lyric 2, the way the Lyric 2 produced treble was very different from a lot of treble that I've heard from headphones. Rather than this kind of really brittleness to the treble, it was like rock solid and hard hitting. And it's similar. It's similar with the Empyrean here, but it does not even come close to the same level of like spicy sibilance that you had with the Lyric 2. It's much better controlled, a lot more smoothed out and relaxed. So you're getting this really rigid intensity in the treble range, but also it's giving you just this really smooth presentation, so you're not getting fatigued at all. Nothing sounded sibilant or fatiguing with this headphone. It was just a really pleasant, smooth experience, but also I'm still getting wonderful amounts of sparkle and shimmer just with this added kind of rigidness to it that I don't usually get in headphones, which makes it just really hyper intense, aggressive, and responsive. Being an open back headphone, yeah, the Empyrean 2 does give you a good sense of soundstage. This very kind of amphitheater kind of sensation all around you. It's a much wider listening experience than it was with the Lyric 2, which of course there was a closed back, but it still had a decent amount of soundstage. Well, the Empyrean here stretches it out even further. So you have this very cinematic, very engaging and immersive kind of theatrical, there's the word, theatrical kind of experience. And then imaging again, man, is just phenomenal. Incredible imaging. Maybe not quite as like micro freaking precise as the Lyric 2 was, but really damn close. And it's able to do that, have that super crazy high imaging precision for positioning with this additional soundstage. It just makes for an incredibly engaging and immersive experience, especially for gaming. This is like crazy money for a gaming headphone, but ooh, it does a phenomenal job for gaming because the imaging is just remarkable. It is totally 3D holographic all around you, and everything is so refined, so well separated, identified, and positioned. The accuracy of positioning is like dead freaking on. And again, just like with the Lyric 2, that you get this wonderful sense of depth and layering. It just stretches out there further and further and further than you would ever expect it to. It's such a great realistic kind of surround sound, man. I don't know what to tell you. It's just great. Meze kills it with imaging with these higher end headphones. And because the Empyrean 2 here is, especially with these dual pads, is a very V-shaped kind of headphone, it's super fun. The dynamic range here is lovely. I mean, you have so much impact on either end, and it gives you such a great sensation of low to high, and it's quick and responsive. It's a very dynamic sound, a very dynamic headphone, and just an absolute joy to listen to. The Empyrean 2 here is like a little bit of a return to form, I feel, for the Meze house sound. I started with Meze on the 99 Classic, and then and that really gave me the sense of the Meze sound, that kind of warm, luscious, just very artisanal sort of musical listening experience. While the Lyric 2, it kind of lacked a little bit of that musical magic. It was a very intense and very kind of analytical sort of sound. The Empyrean here, though, brings the music back, brings that magic back. It's a little bit warmer, a little bit lusher, a lot more like artisanal, for lack of a better word. It's such a wonderful, beautiful musical headphone that takes the Meze house sound and presents it in what I have heard so far, the best way to hear the Meze house sound. It is truly an achievement for this headphone. It is so much fun, and still, I mean, I already went over how how it maybe is the most premium built headphone I've ever seen or had here in the studio. It might also have one of the most pleasant sound signatures I've had here in the studio. It's just phenomenal. So the Empyrean 2 here is, by all accounts, a pretty big win for Meze, I think. I never actually got to hear the original Empyrean, so I don't know exactly tonally, like subjectively, what the sound difference is between the original Empyrean and the Empyrean 2 here, but I've seen the measurements. You can go look them up for yourself if you're interested. And it looks like that this really is, again, a return to form for Meze for that really fun, cozy, delightful, rich sound that they are known for. So this is just a freaking fantastic headphone. And now we got to ask the question of whether or not the Meze Audio Empyrean 2 belongs on the headphone wall. It's a phenomenal headphone. It really is. It's beautiful. It's built better than almost any headphone that I can think of. And it's just lovely. It's so lovely. It's so pleasant to listen to. I can enjoy anything. It makes all my music sound fun. But rules of the headphone wall. Only headphones that I own can go on the headphone wall. And unfortunately, I have to send this headphone off into the ether. It has to go off on its continuing tour. So unfortunately, it is disqualified from the wall. But man, does it have a lot good going for it. And if things were a little bit different, maybe one day I'll purchase one for myself. And if so, it just might be on the wall. So thank you again to Meze Audio for sending the Empyrean 2 to us for this video. We very much appreciate you. This was an absolute blast to play around with the last couple of, I want to say weeks, but it might be months at this point. I don't know. It's been a long freaking time. Thank you for your patience. And once again, thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed this, and I will see you again soon.